So let me guess. At first, when you first fell in love, it was wonderful. The person you were dating was awesome. You got lots of attention exactly the way you like it. You feel like you were giving that back, and everything went really smoothly for a while. And then some minor thing came up. Maybe the person you're dating was really late or something, and you expressed a little bit of displeasure, and your boyfriend or girlfriend could not tolerate that displeasure. It got thrown back on you. You were too critical. You were too picky. And their contribution to whatever little thing went wrong was not acknowledged, right? So if that happened, it's because the narcissist cannot reflect on themselves. They have no ability to really see or acknowledge their own wrongdoing. They're hypersensitive to criticism, and they really just want admiration. But probably both of you got over that pretty quickly, and maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend flipped right back into the one you really wanted, the one that was just awesome and giving you all the attention and admiration you wanted, and you were doing the same for them again. So it went right back to where it was until the next time there was a little hiccup. And over time, this probably led you to begin questioning your reality. So let's talk about this. First, I just want to briefly talk about what narcissistic personality disorder is, because personality disorders are really pervasive and enduring patterns of behavior. They're really categorized very differently than an anxiety disorder or OCD or something like that. They're really about the entire personality. So it's a little bit controversial right now to say that people with personality disorders don't change. So I will just put out there that this is a bit controversial. However, you know how hard it is for you to change, right? And you might be acknowledging that you need to change. You might want to change, and it's still hard to change. If you are dating somebody who does not think they need to change, how likely is it they're going to change? And the thing about somebody with narcissistic personality disorder is if the problem is never them, if it's never like, oh, I'm doing something wrong, they'll never have an incentive to change because their focus will be, no, you have to change. So that's why many people will say that people with narcissistic personality disorder don't change. And I know that's not easy to hear. It's not easy to accept. And most people in a situation of dating somebody where they begin to think, ooh, does this person have narcissistic personality disorder? They're like, yeah, but I want the good one back. I want back what I had initially. So we're going to talk about this today. I'm Barbara. And for those of you who know me, you know that I was a psychotherapist for 20 years before moving my whole business online, developing a YouTube channel to help people around the world, and developing online courses and coaching programs. But while I had my psychotherapy practice, I will tell you that probably more than 50% of my clients were in therapy because they were in a relationship with somebody with a personality disorder. That's a pretty shocking amount, right? So I have worked with a lot, hundreds of people who've been in relationships with somebody with narcissism or one of the other personality disorders. And this is a very difficult place to be. It's complicated, difficult to navigate, and there's not really like clear-cut boom, boom, boom answers all the time. So I'm going to talk about 3 signs that you are dating a narcissist. And then I'm also going to talk about some things that you can do that will be super helpful for yourself. So sign number 1 is that you are always questioning your reality. You're doubting yourself. You're thinking, wow, I don't remember the conversation that way, and I don't really understand why the person is so upset, and that's not what I intended, and I would never react that way. And I do have a whole video on that type of thinking that I can link at the end called the number 1 thinking error that keeps you in a toxic relationship. But it is the thinking of, boy, I wouldn't have done that, and so I must be misinterpreting what's happening. But this kind of questioning of your reality gets worse and worse the longer you're in a relationship with a narcissist before you actually realize what's happening, which is often something called gaslighting. So narcissists navigate the world through manipulation, not through empathy, but through manipulation. And one way they manipulate others is something called gaslighting, where they kind of change the reality on you. They can lie with a completely straight face, completely convincing manner, and they can can undermine your view of things, your feelings. So rather than looking at, okay, am I diagnosing this person? And I can't really do that since I'm not a professional, etc. Instead of looking at, am I picking up on the diagnosis of this person? It's more looking at, how am I feeling? And if I'm always doubting myself in relationship with this person, that's a good sign. Number 2, the entitlement that this person feels. Now, early in the relationship with you, this might be entitlement focused outside of you and outside of the two of you. It might be focused on, I deserve, or even we deserve the best table at the restaurant. We deserve not to have to wait in this line. We deserve the best of everything, right? So initially, the narcissist might bring you into that, which can feel good. But over time, you will notice that it's really, I deserve. And soon in the relationship, because all relationships develop a little bit of conflict you have to work through. And when that happens, the narcissist's sense of entitlement will begin to be in between the two of you. I'm entitled to your affection, whether I was nice to you yesterday or not. I'm entitled to all of your attention, even if we're at a gathering of your family. I'm entitled. And sign number 3 is the lack of empathy. Now, this is one thing that's known a lot about people with narcissistic personality disorder, lack empathy. But I want to clarify something that I don't hear clarified very often. Narcissists actually have cognitive empathy, meaning they understand how other people are feeling. They don't have full empathy with the affective components, the physiological components, and the true caring about somebody else. They have cognitive empathy, meaning they understand that if they say XYZ, you will feel ABC. They know that if they compliment you in a certain way, you'll feel good. If they criticize you in a certain way, you'll feel lousy. If they do this, you'll probably do that. So they know how to manipulate people because they understand cognitively how people feel. So that's just something I wanted to clarify because really you don't hear this anywhere, but that is true. But if you find that your partner truly lacks empathy for you, if you're having a difficult day, but you don't get to have a hard day because my day was harder, so you have to listen to me, or you don't get to have a hard day because I want a cheerful partner, I want somebody who cheers me up, right? There's no real empathy for your humanness, for what you might need or want, unless it matches what they want, which actually brings us back to the initial point about how good a relationship is early on, because early on, and this is true of all couples, right? Early on, when people first fall in love, they both want the same thing, right? There's a real unification there. But over time, right, there's those little things. So that kind of links us back because yes, you'll get that wonderful behavior from the narcissist when and only when it's in their interest. Okay, so what can you do if you're in a relationship with a narcissist? As I said earlier, there's no real easy answers here. Whether you stay, leave, really, people make all sorts of choices, and understanding the situation and understanding the personality of the person you're with can help you make better choices. But let me address something else I've heard on the internet on this topic of how to deal with a narcissist that I really don't agree with, which is to go to therapy with your partner. So let me explain, because I was listening to a pretty popular video and it said something like, well, if you try all of these things and none of it works, then, take your partner or your family member to therapy. Well, the problem is if somebody has narcissistic personality disorder and they don't think they're the problem and they don't think they need to change, they will go to couples counseling to convince the counselor that the problem is their partner. And the other piece that happens in therapy is that if the therapist challenges the narcissist, they're not going to be coming back. So there's this very delicate dance that happens with a therapist where they have to figure out how can they help the narcissist change behavior without confronting them, because the narcissist is so sensitive to criticism, right? But it's usually not a good path to go down. A therapist can help you in therapy, and maybe meeting your partner, they'll have a better sense of what you're dealing with. And then they can help you build self-esteem, which I'm going to get to these other things that are needed. But it's unlikely to actually help the relationship, and it's unlikely to change the narcissist. So the two things to really work on if you are dating a narcissist is your self-esteem, because it might be that your self-esteem wasn't terrific when you got into the relationship. That's a possibility. But generally, being in a relationship with a narcissist can really damage your self-esteem. It can really bring it way down. So working on your self-esteem, very important, and working on boundaries. And the healthy boundaries are boundaries to help you. They're not necessarily boundaries that are going to get back that good one. That might not be possible, but healthy boundaries, super important. So both of these things are addressed in the boundary program I have, which I will put the link below. This program is not about kind of like the instructional things like that you need to like learn to say, because that's easy to find, right? You can pull it up online, a whole list of, oh, say these things, but we don't do it because of our feelings, how we feel, our self-esteem, right? So this program goes much deeper to work on some of those underlying core beliefs that will really help you if you improve them, if you are able to transform those negative core beliefs into positive core beliefs. Healthy boundaries will just flow. They'll just be there. They'll be much easier to enact. And that obviously highly tied to self-esteem. I will see you next week, and do subscribe if you're not subscribed to my channel, and do give this video a like if you liked it. It's a big help.